Hey guys, I'm Rachel Castile and welcome to Typology Corner. Today I'm doing an overview video on the INTJ personality type, and I'm doing it from the perspective of objective personality, which highlights the standard MBTI type as well as the jumper type. So the standard INTJ is using NI and TE as savior functions, and then the jumper type is using NI and FI as savior functions. So there's a difference in the decision maker that they choose to prioritize, and so they both have the demon process of extroverted sensing in the inferior position. So essentially, by choosing different saviors, they have a different demon process in the middle, but they both share that same life imbalance of going all in on introverted intuition and not as much putting time in on the extroverted sensing, which kind of speaks to the extreme gifting that they carry, but also the same growth path in that way. So I'm gonna switch over to the visual to kind of show you what that looks like. So here's our standard type at the top, and then our jumper type at the bottom. They both are NI first, which is making them be in a dominant organizing type. They are a dominant observer type with their other observer at the bottom, and then they have the gift of double deciding in the middle, being kind of balanced on self and tribe. So the difference between the two is one, still, even though they are double deciders, which of the two decision making functions is a savior for them determines if they're a standard type or a jumper type. So I guess that's a good overview, and I'll just kind of get into what the INTJ is in general, and then we can look into the differences. But the INTJ is leading with introverted intuition. This is a process that is prioritizing, organizing patterns that they are observing in the world around them. It's very, it comes very naturally to them to see the pattern in all of the information, to see the underlying thing that's going on, to see the deeper truth, the deeper meaning behind everything that they are like subconsciously just absorbing. From a child, they've been absorbing their parents, people around them, information, books, just they are just subconsciously taking in everything and seeing the patterns that are emerging in the information. And that intuition is very strong in them, that they just have a sense of knowing about what's going on, a sense of understanding the behind the scenes things, in a sense of like the cause and effect. This action leads to this, and when this happens, it causes this other thing. Kind of seeing the dots, how it's all interconnected, and this makes them future oriented. It's seeing what's happened, what is happening, and what will happen because of the pattern. Or seeing, hey, what we're currently dealing with is connected to this thing that was done a long time ago, and seeing the cause and the effect of any given topic is kind of their gift, to have a deeper knowing about how things are interconnected. And yeah, they are organizers of these patterns of let's see, of I guess patterns is the word, but it's abstract connections between things, and it's a bit of a wisdom. It's a sense of knowing about where something is going, where something is headed, and then the function is also related to the will, knowing what you want, knowing what kind of future you do want. High NI people are in touch with what they want, and lock on to a particular future that is desired as a result of seeing all of the patterns. in seeing the patterns, it causes them to sort through and determine what is desirable and what is not desirable. So as opposed to extroverted intuition seeing lots of different patterns and not particularly choosing one, all of their seeing and knowing has a crystallizing effect that keeps narrowing down to the desired one, the desired conclusion. It's ever refining to a more pointed truth about something, a pointed knowing. And depending on what experiences they've had, you can get a variety of INTJs based on whatever their organization is, whatever their pattern recognition is. Can be very, very diverse because it's a subjective process. It's personal at this point. Their patterns are personal to them. It's a function that is disconnected from the world around them. This is going inside into their imagination, into their own patterns and abstractions. Their inner world is very deep. Yeah. This function being dominant does cause them to retreat from the world around them often, and they're ever refining their understanding or just their connections and letting it kind of they're kind of swimming in their imagination, I guess. They like playing things out in their mind and seeing how things turn out. They're kind of simulators of future events. Intuitive DOMs have this trait about them in general, but how it looks in an introverted way, it becomes a actual planning function, that it is planning desired futures and planning out futures that are not desired and how to not engage in them. It keeps narrowing down and refining to the desired outcome. And in a dominant position like this, the vision, the goal, the direction is king. I like to say that it's driving the ship. It is the most important thing to them, and every other process is serving this end goal for them, whatever it is. It could apply to their career, it could apply to the world. Maybe they have vision for the entire world. They have vision for their family or the changing of something. They have that innovative sort of quality about them because they are envisioning something that's not what reality is. They're envisioning something out of their imagination and are setting out to bring it to pass, basically, is kind of the idea of what intuition looks like in a dominant position. This causes them to be disconnected from the world around them as a preference of disconnecting from it, because it is much more intriguing to them to be building like an architect, to be building something that they want to create, that they want to see come to pass, which is not what's actually happening around them currently. So there is that desire to like phase out or to what's that word? I'm seeing it and trying to convert it into English, but it's like to blur out the SE, the extroverted sensing, the reality, the moment that's happening right now, to fog it out in exchange for the imagination, to really develop it, and then to start that the actions they take in the outside world is to bring the vision to pass. And then from that point, the secondary process, extroverted thinking, is going to complement that, or the introverted feeling is complementing it, and is serving the vision, and is the other way that they are navigating, making decisions, but it still serves that dominant vision. So just looking at that, how that plays out, looking at the next function. So in the standard INTJ, the TE is the secondary process. It still is secondary here, but it still could be a demon for this type down here. But just know this double deciding, these functions are visible per se, right? They are aware of both. So I just want to kind of clarify that a bit, that choosing something as a savior doesn't mean you don't understand or see the other types of decisions. It just, you have a preference, a go-to one that you're doing most often. So in the standard type, when we're talking about that vision, then we bring in that extroverted thinking as a secondary process, which is focused on efficiency. It's focused on getting things done, producing a result, understanding what is working extrovertedly outside of themselves, getting things accomplished, moving things forward, getting feedback from the collective, understanding the reasons of the tribe, the people around them, what is actually working for people, what are people's reasons. It's giving everyone a voice into the decision that is made, and understanding, what is mattering to the people around them, what is being weighed, So the INTJ, with that TE being, a complementing function to the NI, it creates this architect kind of mind of designing something that factors in everyone, that furthers the group, that moves the group forward, that gets results for everyone. It's kind of that researching by getting feedback from the people around them, and innovating things for society, for the family, for the self, whatever the goal is. It's that extroverted output in the outside world of getting a better yield on something, getting more results, making something work better, understanding how something is working for the collective, and making it better, improving it. So if you listen to like the INFJ, in contrast, having that extroverted thinking process makes the INTJ take their NI focus, and the way they carry out that vision, it's factoring in different criteria than the INFJ, who also leads with introverted intuition. So, and then on that same axis, we've got our FI. FI, again, I'm putting it up, up against the INFJ just for contrast, but FI as an internal identity process for this type, it's much more personal. It's much more like just the values, the likes, the dislikes, the moral code, I guess, of what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is bad, what is good character to this person, what is like their mantra, what's that moral code that they're living by, that internal depth of emotion that is their own. They're not all that in tune with the emotions of other people. It's not something being factored in the INTJ type. They have a depth of their own emotion, depth of understanding where they fall on something, what they value, what they deem good, and what they deem bad. Yeah, in the standard INTJ, that is a subservient process to the extroverted thinking. So with extroverted thinking being the savior, it's a person who's much more extrovertedly in touch with the spectrum of reasons for the tribe, making decisions that's working for everyone else. It has a more serve the collective element about them that makes them make judgments and decisions that factors in others, and is not as in touch with the self, with the personal values, the personal morals in that sense, or making a decision that's purely out of emotion, purely out of their own attitudes towards things. Your INTJ has that's there, but it's not really showing up in the world as much. That's not something that's expressed. FI in of itself isn't a function that needs to be extrovertedly expressed. They sort their own emotions out internally on their own, privately, and that's just something that they're in touch with. And if they care to share it, great. But it's kind of rare that they do. Um, but yeah, that's a function that is there for them. But um, how the world is experiencing them and how they show up is that extroverted thinking is making its appearance more in the extroverted world. Because whenever you look at an introverted type, their secondary process is the one that you see more in the way that they interact with the world around them. Um, when they communicate, they're communicating that extroverted process. So yeah, the TE way of speaking is going to be apparent in the INTJ. It's more logical. It's more looking through all of the reasons of stuff, um, making decisions on the reasons in the standard type, and then those the personal values as a complement to that. So, um, now in contrast, looking at the jumper type, our jumper is more in touch with the inner world altogether. They have that NI and then the FI as saviors, with the TE being a demon and the common SE being a demon. So this person is more in touch with their own personal feelings about stuff. It's easier to make a decision on purely, just liking something or don't like it, or I think that's bad or I think that's good, and I want that, I don't want that, I don't like that, and that's all the reason I need to make a decision. An FI savior kind of person can do that very easily with no apology about it. They can just stay true to self. They're aware of self, and that is much more comfortable to honor the self, and would be like, man, I don't even want to do this, but I'm doing it for the group. That would be harder for them to make that sort of leap, or to consider the collective when making a decision. Um, I do bring this up. My husband is an INTJ who is a jumper type, so I see this very real, that he's very much led by his own moral code, but his vision that he's always building does always factor in the collective and the TE and stuff. It's there, but day to day, he's making decisions that is related to FI and what is bumping into his personal values, what matters to him. He is much more kind of, I guess you call it like a feeler version of the INTJ, being aware of his own personal values and making decisions on that. It kind of has that NF cause of justice sort of element that's coming from a deeper emotional um, place, or just concern for what is right and what is wrong. Um, yeah, so just looking at, I guess, a bit of a growth path we can get into for each of the types. The standard type being more group focused, hopping and explaining based on the reasons, um, hopping from thing to thing because the group has changed their reasons on something and needing to accommodate the group, needing, this is a more validation seeking type, needing to stay congruent with the reasons of the people around them somewhat. So growth for them would be in, allowing themselves to spend time in that FI and determine what they value, without needing feedback from people, and just say, this is where I stand on this. This is my value system. This is what I like. Doing something that's more selfish per se can be valuable for the standard INTJ to get in touch with their own um, their own likes and dislikes, and to honor what just on a heart level, like a guttural emotional level, matters to them, and to stay true to it, to realign their life and to incorporate the self in what they're doing, would be very beneficial to this type, that as they serve the collective, it honors the self, and it's not purely just self-sacrificing at the expense of or self-sacrificing in the to the benefit of the group alone. So yeah, that's kind of a picture of what development can look like for the standard INTJ. And then for the jumper type, they can kind of get outside of themselves and consider other people a bit more. They start off more in touch with where they are, and they're very comfortable with telling the world no, and staying true to the self. It can be beneficial for the FI savior type to actually see if their inner world and their personal values, like how that's working for the tribe, to get feedback from the tribe, to speak into that place, to get more input, really, and to consider the other perspectives, the other reasons that other people present for having different values or different coming to different conclusions, because these are decision making functions that we're looking at. So it's not just perspectives when we talk about the observers. So it's hearing other ways of life, I think, is a good way of saying that. Hearing other people's reasons for landing on different things, and factoring that in the personal judgments that they make in their FI, to assess that and kind of update their personal decisions while getting the perspective of the collective added in a bit. So yeah, that's a bit of a picture of what growth can look like for the INTJ in stepping beyond the savior process into incorporating the demon a bit. And so yeah, from there, let's get into like the main imbalance of the INTJ that they have in common. So this is just an INTJ thing here. What does it look like to incorporate the SE more, or how is the SE actually being pushed down at a level that there is an imbalance, and how to kind of see that and grow in that other area. So again, the planning of the NI can be so like years and years down the road. It can be what brings me joy is when this thing happens, when this big thing is fulfilled. And my current reality is kind of flatline right now. It's kind of boring. I'm kind of not interested in what's going on around me. Can be kind of the default of the INTJ. That fulfillment's going to be way down the road, and seeing that thing come to pass, that's what I'm banking on, living for, planning and refining and designing, and that future, whatever it's applying to. INTJs can be, seriously, deeply involved in totally different areas of life, having vision for totally different causes and stuff. So this can apply in lots of different ways. But a beneficial path for the INTJ is to show up and let the moments happen around them, and kind of let themselves be there with people, to really be there experiencing this moment that's happening today, to get out of the house, per se, the house of their mind, and to enjoy the simple things, enjoy just having fun, and kind of letting reality right now inform them and show them something new, and to kind of fully let the moment be what it is, and to set the plans down enough to engage with the present and let the present show them something, just by simply letting the present happen to them. And I don't know, that may sound a little crazy or far out there, but I'm speaking to the place that INTJs can find themselves in, that they are just executing a plan, one moment at a time, going to the next thing within the plan, and yeah, life can be that heavily designed, I guess, in a bit. Um, a bit. I said in a bit. But yeah, it's what else can I say about extroverted sensing for them? They can be kind of disconnected from what's going on around them. They can be otherworldly. They can be mentally absent, I guess, from what's happening in the moment. And I guess there's a time and a place for all of it. Like the development of the vision and where you're going shouldn't fully cause you to miss the updating of your file by gathering in new stuff in the moment and enjoying the moment. As the INTJ lets the now in, it will change the files that they create. It will change the visions. It will change the future as it presents the opportunity to see something new. The more present moment stuff is seen, the more their patterns get updated, the more what else can I say about it? It's a bit redundant, but essentially enjoy the moment, soak up the moment, and let it change you, let it expand you, let it teach you something beyond your own ability to see patterns, your own ability to rely on that wisdom that you have, just that sense of knowing. INTJs can have a sense of just there's a quick answer based on the filing cabinet. A person who has been extracting patterns from life their whole life and organizing it, that is, those known patterns is something that they can rely on to make decisions. And that's really a beautiful thing. They are incredible teachers. They can share just deeper truths and knowings about things that others may have not put the time in to really understand or see just how interconnected certain things are. Like talking about the cause and effect, they can really see what can create change in the world, what really is causing the problems, what are the root issues. They are incredible for seeing those deeper things on whatever field they're in. They're masterful minds, and they really can move companies forward. They can develop very futuristic things and move society to a whole new place. Just walking around in the moment wouldn't have ever gotten the world to advance into. They're thinking about just bigger things. They're thinking about change, I think is the best word to apply to INTJs. Big change. That comes from a place of really factoring in the collective. That TE is very an incredible function for seeing what is actually working, seeing what's not working, and how to change it. And it cuts through the emotion. It's not, oh, what people like and people are attached to this. A TE can easily see, well, this isn't good. It's not really working and we need to change it. TE can cut through that stuff and it can kind of marshal and change the direction of something, especially joined with NI. It's a direction changing function pair. And I just encourage INTJs to get in touch with their personal values, with what really matters to them, and really hone that out and decide what type of change you want to create in the world, because that's what you're wired to do. And share that depth of your inner world, that matching that deep emotion with that deep knowing and all that's within that, as that is articulated, and share it with the world. That's a really beautiful and impactful thing that is thought provoking. I think INTJs bring very thought provoking conversations, to bring awareness to things that, um, living in the moment probably wouldn't have ever thought of or noticed, or thought about tangible ways to move things forward in another direction. Um, so yeah, I when I'm talking about growth, I don't want to negate the beautiful gifting of the type. I just also want to encourage, I think the gift that you are will get even better when you start to incorporate the functions that you're not spending time on. And you'll start to become balanced, that you're not just developing patterns on a little bit of information. The more you can gather in, the more you can explore and take in reality as it is, then you've got more things to see connections in. And the more you get feedback from people, see what's working for them, and let that inform your identity. You get your identity built very well. You understand the collective. You're connected with the community. You're creating patterns and building a future vision and everything, but you're also in the moment. And you're also, letting reality happen, and it'll give you new things to think about, new things to organize, new things to plan with. The more informed you are as an INTJ, the more you take in, the better your internal, that introverted world starts to connect dots that really can become a solution in your own life, in your family, or in the world. Whatever level of vision you have, y'all are the visionaries of our society. And the INFJ as well. Y'all's minds are just more like this architect, sort of moving things forward type of brain, and in the realm of slightly different than the whole being in touch with people's souls that the INFJ kind of has, with people and such. Y'all kind of see the systems of the world, and you can see where the system's broken and how to fix it. And I think that's a really beautiful thing. And I think that's about it, what I'm going to say on the functions. Give you that gives you a decent picture of how these functions flow together and how to grow. Yeah. I'm like in a NI space communicating this as an ESTP, and it's my mind's kind of going slow right now. But yeah, I think that kind of encapsulates you guys to start. There's so much more to say, really. But yeah, if you want to get a deeper understanding of the cognitive functions, head over to my channel, go down to the playlist, and look at the cognitive functions. I have all the 8 functions in there, and you can jump in and hear even more detail on each of these functions to get a better understanding of the pieces that makes up this type. And if you'd like personal coaching, or you'd like help discerning which type you are, feel free to head over to my website, typologycorner.com. It's in the description. And book a session with me, just like an hour session, just to talk through whatever you'd like to talk through. I've got a list of like 6 different types of coaching calls that you can click on and pick the one that fits your needs best. And yeah, I'd love to chat with you and kind of sort through whatever you're wanting to grow in and make sense of. So if you got value out of this video, go on and give me a thumbs up. I appreciate the feedback, and subscribe for future content. And yeah, I am very glad to have you on the channel. Thank you for your time listening to my thoughts, and I pray that it's been of value to you. So, all right, guys, that is it for the INTJ, and I will see you guys on the next one. Take care.